It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. Back once again, it's Sunday evening, so we're back with your weekly recap of everything Star Wars. So what have we got coming up on today's show? First up, we're talking Galactic Pals. Then we'll be going having a look at Obi-Wan Kenobi. The New Republic Phase 2 cover art's revealed. Mikkelsen's been talking about Indiana Jones. Giancarlo Esposito's been talking The Mandalorian. We'll have all the week's Celebration Anaheim updates. We'll be looking ahead to Marvel's July 2022 solicitations. And we'll end the show by having a little look at what's happening with the latest production news from Ahsoka. The important elements of the show, I'll get rid of that, excuse me, is, it's broken, the system is broken, oh dear, let's try something else, let's try that, there we go. Subscribe, ring the bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, like, share the content, follow us. And most importantly, we need your comments throughout the show. Get involved. Let us know your thoughts on the news that we're talking about. All the links are in the comments. And we're also trying out some QR codes on the screen as well. If you want to be fancy, get your camera out and give them a click and see if it works. Yeah, Mr. Newbuild, I've broken the system once again. Is it me or is it my guest this week from fantatrax.com? Carl Bayliss, how are you, Carl?
Oh, yeah, glitch in the Matrix.
Glitch in the Matrix. We're trying out some new graphics this week, so first fail of the day. May there be many more. Carl, how's your week been?
Busy. As some people may know, as well as being a manic Star Wars fan, I'm also drummer in far too many bands. So been week of rehearsals, shows, rehearsals for shows that aren't happening yet, and and Easter, of course.
And Easter. Happy Easter, everyone. It's Easter Sunday, of course.
Yes, happy Easter.
Desert Planet Discs, always happening in the background.
Yes. The The last show went out a couple of weeks ago. It was Greg and myself, and our special guest for that episode was Andy Lith. So we were talking all things Star Wars, quite a bit about the recent Darth Elvis track, Personal Jesus cover called General Grievous. Andy was very, very, very awesome in putting that video together. So if you want to hear more about how he did that and all that sort of thing, then tune into Desert Planet Discs. And the next episode, I believe, is out just after May 4th. I think it's about whatever the Friday is of that week. I think it's 6th or 7th.
Yeah. Paul's reminding us as well, you had a birthday this week.
Yes. Thank you, Paul. Yes, 50 years young.
Yeah, celebrations. Was there cake involved? Will you be getting a £50 fine?
No, there wasn't any cake involved. Yes, I'm trying to put that right. Most of my family have been away most of the week, so yes, we're sort of putting the actual celebrations back a little bit.
But coming up as well, we've got Star Wars Fan Fun Day, which you're going to be at. It's May Day weekend. Saturday night is the Dinner with the Stars. Sunday, the main show. Yes,
and as several people, including Mr. Naylor and Mr. Newbold, will already know, unfortunately, I can't make the meal this year because I double booked. In my haste and excitement, I didn't actually read the small print and went, "Oh, great! Yeah, tickets are on sale." Booked my tickets, and then realised it wasn't a Sunday Monday because the bank holiday in the UK has moved. It's the meals on the Saturday night and the shows on the Sunday, which is a bit of a departure. So I'm actually playing in a wedding band on the Saturday night, so I should be hot-footing it up to Blackburn on the Sunday morning.
Well, we'll see you there for sure.
Yes.
News-wise, this week, let's kick it off. We made some new pals this week. Galactic Pals, indeed.
Yes.
Star Wars animation for the kids again. It's a spin-off from the Galaxy of Creatures we got last year. We've got a new micro short animated series. There's going to be 2 episodes every week, starting this past Tuesday through the 26th of April at the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. What did you think of the Galactic Pals?
I've watched it earlier in the week, and it's just fun. It's as Matt says there, new droids. So something else to, and you just know there's going to be a plushie range of these Galactic Pals coming out. But the baby Max Rebo is just so cute. I just want one of those already.
Mattel are going to have some plushes as well, which are going to be in Target in the US. Well, I imagine they'll be available at retailers in other parts of the world. And you've got a couple of new characters, M1RE or Miri, one of the lead characters there, and Ari as well, SFR3. And basically they're 2 characters that travel around the galaxy, finding out about all the weird and wonderful creatures on the way and sort of teaching the kids as we go.
Yeah. It's got a bit of a Muppet Babies feel to it as well.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that, I think. Also connects back to the High Republic as well, to this Galactic Society of Cultural Enthusiasts, which is kind of the linchpin of it all. And Paul Bateman there saying, "Time for a geode plushie." And Mr. Newbold, he likes new graphics. He's noticed. I had a debate with Carl before the show. Would anyone notice new graphics? We're trying something different this week. See if it works. Mr. Newbold's noticed. Let's throw up the trailer and check it out. Whilst we talk about it, a couple of episodes came out this week. Did Did you have a chance to check them out? What did you think, Carl?
Yeah, as I say, I think it's they're just a bit of fun. I say that Max Rebo just looks so cute. Just like yeah, and it's I think it's obviously aimed at getting the I would say squarely aimed at the sort of preschooler type market. And if it switches kids onto Star Wars and they enjoy it and watch this, its companion piece, moves on, then they probably start watching then stuff like Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and things like that, and become Star Wars fans of the future. So anything that's getting kids into Star Wars is good by me.
I don't think that the Galactic Creatures ended up in Disney Plus. Anyone in the chat might confirm that or not. I don't have Disney Plus at the moment, waiting for Kenobi to come back. But I don't recall seeing it.
No, I don't think it has.
And it kind of felt like maybe the kind of thing you could have thrown up in Disney Plus for the kids on that platform, but they don't seem to.
Yeah, it does. It would be interesting to see, if this does come on as well, because you would think if you are putting a platform like Disney Plus together, kids are going to be watching it on tablets and stuff, whether sat in the car or wherever, with the parents trying to keep them quiet. There you go. There's your iPad with Disney Plus on, and off they go. You would think this would be ideal, or do you have part of StarWars.com that links through, and there's all interactive games and stuff for the kids based on these characters? That's another way.
I kind of think it's a good idea because Star Wars is multi-generational now, where you might find that the parents like Star Wars, the kids don't know anything about it, so this is a good way to get the kids involved in the fandom. So
yeah,
good to see it continued. I thought the Galactic Creature stuff was a little bit of fun, so glad to see they're carrying it on and under this Galactic Pals banner.
Yeah, definitely.
Next up in the news front, writer Joby Harold's been talking Obi-Wan Kenobi. Entertainment Weekly, of course, had the big exclusive articles. Feels like at least a month back, I imagine. And they're still sort of bringing out content related to that. And he's been talking about the surviving Jedi and, the fact that they've all been on the run. They've been in hiding whilst the sort of galaxy has been sort of collapsing round about them, and it's been getting darker and darker. Obi-Wan himself, he's been struggling kind of with the sort of the mental side of it, I guess, in terms of, he's stuck on Tatooine. He's trying to protect a young, what was a baby in Luke. It's going to evolve over a number of years. So also aware that he's been hunted as well.
Yeah. That's the problem with kids, as I can attest. You keep feeding them, they get bigger and more lippy. But it's a couple of the things I've seen and heard about it is, we're going to get almost sort of PTSD Obi-Wan. He's not only is he wrestling with the fact that he's got to be in hiding, and he's got this sort of guardianship, duty of care to protect, young Luke, but he's also, the whole thing of, his Padawan has now become, the second most evil, I guess, person in the galaxy. So, he's kind of blaming himself a little bit for that, and so it sounds like there are quite sort of dark undertones for the show, but it'll be really, really interesting.
And Paul's asking there, what Jedi do you think we'll see in the show? Kind kind of has been hinted at we might see Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's one of those where I wouldn't really like them to maybe pull too much on. I know various people have said in the past, it makes the galaxy feel that little bit smaller when you just keep pulling in the same people,
Yep.
same characters. There's a lot that we could see. Paul there, a young Biggs, hopefully still with a moustache, even though he's probably like 8. That'd be cool. But yeah, I think some of those sort of characters. There's a lot of stuff being said. There's lots and lots and lots of Easter eggs and little nods here and there. Which we've seen in the live action series so far. Mando and Book of Boba Fett. There's been little nods to stuff that's already happened. In other films, and little callbacks here and there, and even in I was watching Rogue One again the other week. You've got Dr. Everson and those sort of characters cropping up. And they don't impact massively on the story, but they're just nice little nods for if you know sort of thing.
Yeah. I kind of expect that any Jedi that are going to be in the program are going to end up dead. So you may have to modify who you wish to see based on that.
Yeah.
I think they have to paint a bleak world around Obi-Wan. So if you're going to introduce a Jedi into it, I reckon you've got to kill that Jedi in front of Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And I mean, you've seen from the trailer, there's that sort of what looks to be a bit of a sort of public hanging or something with Joel Edgerton.
Yeah.
Stood there as if to sort of say, no, I don't know any Jedi. No, not me, mate.
Nailer Jedi Jar Jar Binks then.
I'm just trying to think. In canon by now, isn't he the children's entertainer?
No, not by that point. Not by that point, I don't think.
Oh no, because that's all prequel, sequel era, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, pulling up in a land speeder that's a bit like a clown car. That'd be quite cool.
There we go. There's a good one. Quinlan Voss would be one that people would like to see. He doesn't want to see him bite the dust.
Yeah.
It's a good shout. Same interview, the topic of Ewan's Obi-Wan becoming closer to Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan as well came up. And how they're going to try and bridge that gap in the way that's portrayed. And I think this is kind of what interests me about this show perhaps more than other ones is I think they've got the opportunity to do a more thoughtful action piece with Ewan McGregor and have him really delve into the mindset and emotions of Obi-Wan and present a different kind of Star Wars show rather than full-on action. Yeah,
and I mean, again, as I think we've all said many times, if Luke now is 7 or 8, you've got 12 years between Obi-Wan as he will appear in the series and Obi-Wan as he appears in New Hope. So that's a fairly harrowing time for Obi-Wan. But again, with this, rumoured dark undertone to the whole thing, and the fact that Obi-Wan is struggling, mentally with how the Jedi Order has failed to the galaxy and his part in that and everything else. That could be quite wearing on somebody, I guess.
My shout out for who should appear in this series is Jabba the Hutt. Don't know how you introduce him. I don't know how you involve him, but Tatooine is Jabba's territory.
Yeah.
For someone hiding out in the desert, Jabba's going to know about it. There's going to be some kind of deal there. Obi-Wan's doing something for Jabba to keep the peace some way.
Yeah, and the other thing with a character like Jabba, certainly I don't know if there's anything in canon about the way Hutts age. You know, is it like Grogu? You know, he's 50 and he looks like a toddler. You know, you could have a similarly, you know.
I guess you've got the age difference between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I know part of that's artificial because you're going CGI to puppet, but the age is considerably there. There's a lot of frogs he's eating in that.
Well, that's it. That's it. He's just sat there snacking on frogs.
Yeah. Going back even further into the timeline, the High Republic continues in the literature scene, and they've been releasing cover art for Phase 2, the young adult novel Star Wars: The High Republic Path of Deceit, from Grattan and Justina Ireland, has been released, and we can check out that cover art right here. There we go. Path of Deceit there. Tessa Grattan, Justina Ireland. Have you been reading a lot of the High Republic? Obviously, there's a lot of content out there, comics, books, and it's going to come over to Disney Plus at some point with The Acolyte, and if we're to believe, a second series as well, yet to be announced.
It's not something I've delved into really at the moment. I am trying to get to a position where I've got all the or I get all the novels, so I can try and work out which order they've got to be read in. So I'll be tapping you up for that, Brian. But yeah, it's something that does interest me, and obviously, Acolyte is one of those shows that has been mentioned back in the investors call a couple of years ago now. That when they announced that, I was like, oh, that's one I want to see. So yeah, I think, you know, obviously to have a bit of an understanding of the era and what's going on and everything will be a bit of a prerequisite. But
I think the High Republic in some ways is a victim of its own success in terms of putting out so much content that's hard for people that haven't been keeping up with it to jump in and get involved in it. And probably the opposite to be said for the rest of Star Wars comics and novels, in that they all feel so disjointed and there's no real story flowing through them. There's no real direction to them, that it's really hard to get behind any of that series or behind any of that books, because there doesn't appear to be a direction. So there needs to be a kind of like a happy middle ground, I think. Yeah.
And I mean, again, one of the things that I personally have found, and you know, I've spoken to people and seen exactly the same thing, that you know, people aren't really sure, you know, what order is there an order you're supposed to read them all in? You know, do you end up jumping from comic to book to and around the place, you know, and it's a bit like the last Spider-Man film, and everybody was going, right, okay, so I've got to watch all 3 Spider-Man films from this run, plus all the previous ones, to understand what's actually going on in the new Spider-Man film.
Yeah, and
as you say, there is a degree of, you know, if you're coming into Star Wars now and, you know, you're a 10, 12-year-old kid and you're into your comics and you're reading books and stuff like that, then, you know, I can remember at that age, you know, hoovering up whatever there was at the time. Not just Star Wars, but sci-fi and fantasy. And, you know, your thirst for new content is massive, but for the legacy fans, if you like, you know, having to or feeling like you have to dip into all these different eras and have read this book to understand what's going on in this TV show and everything else, is it's a bit daunting.
So effectively, at the moment, you've got Phase 1 that's just coming to the end, and for Phase 2, which they're just announcing and revealing at this point in time, they're jumping back 150 years. So effectively doing it the same way as the films, releasing prequels to the original. I've picked up on the fact that they're going with this rich kind of bluish kind of logo. Don't know if that's going to be consistent across the whole of Phase 2 after the sort of gold logo of Phase 1. Be interesting if they did, because there's no other real way to tell the difference between Phase 1 and Phase 2 on a bookshelf. And you talked about the reading order. It's pretty much as they've been released, as the reading order to run with. But it's difficult for anyone to jump in, I think. And as Mark's kind of saying, is there lots to hoover up, hard to keep up. And Star Wars Book Collector jumping in there as well. It's almost like there's 3 lines: the adults, the young adults, and the junior. You don't have to read them all. That you can read just the adult novels and get through with what the story is, and the young adult and the juniors are kind of just adding little bits on or telling it in a slightly different manner. And Anakin Crespin there saying he's managed to read all of Phase 1, really enjoyed it. Leagues above all the post-Empire era stuff. Kind of have to agree. I don't know what they're trying to achieve with post-Empire stuff at this point in time. Don't know what the direction is. There's been some good individual issues and good individual tales there. Just lacks a kind of direction. And I think it's been the criticism of Lucasfilm overall is that they don't seem to have a creative director who's really pointing like this is the horizon we're heading towards. Criticism from Andrew there, when I see a lot as well, so many characters, and the fact that it's all unfamiliar characters, new names, unusual names, and not your easy Luke, Han, Leia type names makes it difficult as well. And Paul there, he's waiting for the Acolyte show.
Yeah.
Still rumoured to be getting made in the UK, kicking off this summer, June-ish time. We'll wait and we shall see. Maybe there'll be some positive announcements in that regard at Celebration.
Yeah.
Something that we know has been made. Indiana Jones, a non-Star Wars project, but Lucasfilm nonetheless, and it's obviously got links back to Star Wars by the people in it. Obviously, Harrison Ford, well know he plays Han Solo. Mads Mikkelsen as well. Galen Erso in Rogue One will also be in Indiana Jones 5, and he will be playing the central villain of the film. He's been talking a little bit about it this past week, mentioned that Raiders of the Ark was one of his favourite films, and that the fact that this new film is going to go heavily back into the style of the first and second film. And he thought it felt to him like it was a Spielberg film. It was obviously not being made by Spielberg, who's the executive producer on it. And it's being made with the same kind of vision. You looking forward to Indy 5?
Yeah. As you know, I think as all of us that were, sort of into Star Wars when we were kids, the fact that Harrison then cropped up in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was that was the era that we were all going to the cinema and catching these big blockbuster films, and that was just brilliant. Raiders and Temple of Doom are still, in many people's top 10. I think we've got just too many Star Wars films. Might have just edged out of my short round back. Oh, brilliant.
Short round.
That's what we call Paul.
Mads also mentioned on Harrison Ford. That obviously Harrison got hurt as usual during filming, and he talked a little bit about Harrison's typical day doing 50 kilometres on his bike, and we kind of saw pictures in the UK press. Harrison cycling around random UK country pubs, looked like to me.
That's
not
what
a bad pursuit. So yeah, certainly from Mads, there seems to be a lot of positivity from him about what Indy 5's going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody always talks up, the latest film project as being, harking. I seem to remember somebody saying, a few people saying at the time that Last Jedi was harking back to Empire, and it's all the sort of the hype machine and the media machine to hook back into those people, because again, with all these sort of things, if you've got the feeling of the original, you kind of go, are you kind of going for a little bit of a reboot? Are you going to be hooking, what are your plans for the series going forward? Are you going to do more Indiana Jones style films? Are you trying to hook in a new audience, or are you trying to appeal to the people that love it from, originally? So, I mean, we wait and we see. I think Last Jedi hark back to the holiday special. No, there was no Lumpy.
The little insight I have of Indy 5, spoilers, beware, people avoiding spoilers, is if you know your sort of Nazi lore, that Nazis did a lot of experimenting with the ability to time travel and enter different dimensions. And from my understanding, this is what this Indy 5 is going to be based on. You're going to see a lot of time traveling and Indy traveling back into his own past and meeting individuals from his own history. So that's where I believe we're going to be heading. So the likelihood of meeting characters we're very familiar with are going to be quite high.
There we go. So it's Indiana Jones meets Bill and Ted.
A little bit like that, I think. Something that'll be out before Indy 5 up next, coming to Disney Plus. Season 3 of The Mandalorian. No date is set yet, but it is coming soon. Giancarlo Esposito has obviously been on the trail because Better Call Saul's coming back.
Yes.
Love Better Call Saul. I think it's back in the next couple of weeks, in fact. And he made a comment, we're going to get it soon. He's got a few things left to do in regards to that, and some finishing touches on what he needs to do, but I believe it'll be some time this summer. No date set yet, but coming soon. I don't know if he meant his work's going to be this summer, because The Mandalorian's not going to be this summer. The Mandalorian's going to be, I reckon, Christmas.
Yeah. I think because didn't they say they'd only wrapped principal photography?
Yeah, just in the last few weeks, in the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
you got to be talking, at least 6 months of post production. You would have thought.
Yeah.
Even with the volume, meaning that they haven't got to do as much background replacement and things like that. I'd seen a few places where they've gone, oh, Mandalorian season 3 is coming this summer, but if you read the quote properly, I know I've got a few things to do. I think it'll be this summer. Yeah, so
pickups over the summer, I think. Good to see we're going to get him back. Probably going to see more Dark Troopers, more of the cloning side of things, how that all links back to Grogu, who obviously they've been experimenting on to some degree with what is the end game there. They're kind of linking it back to Exegol and the Emperor a little bit, but are we going to see something a little bit more shocking? And there's been a lot of talk of Thrawn coming in. If you're taking Thrawn into Ahsoka, are you bringing in Joris Gabboth and his sort of cloning from the Thrawn trilogy from Timothy Zahn as well. So all sorts of possibilities in there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And if the first two series are anything to go by, and Book of Boba Fett as well, then it's this era of storytelling that they're Dave and John are helming. Favaloni, as we've christened them on Desert Planet Discs. It's all been great stories, and the characterization as well. Moff Gideon as a character is properly in that ambitious imperial. You look at Ben Mendelsohn as Krennic, and even Tarkin. Those sort of characters are cropped up in each of the imperial eras. And maybe it's maybe it is a pet project that he's got that in order to truly take over the the mantle of the emperor, because obviously at this point they don't know this imperial remnant, so they think the empire's gone. Perhaps they think that by empowering themselves with force abilities that they can create a new empire that can't be challenged because he's got force abilities and things like that. So
yeah, and obviously the Book of Boba Fett effectively gave up 2 episodes to The Mandalorian, so effectively we're going into season 3 with a complete and utter reboot. In effect, we're starting the season with a blank slate. There's no sort of hanging kind of plot elements from the previous series in terms of Grogu's back with Mando. Mando really doesn't have an objective anywhere. He's flying about in his new zippy little spacecraft. He does, there's obviously the whole sort of Mandalore kind of thing in the background, but there's nothing of pressing urgency, it would seem. So they have a blank slate to kick off the season 3.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've seen it reported in various places, and again, slightly spoilery, that it is going to be more about him trying to atone for taking his helmet off. So trying to find the underground. Was it the underground fountains or whatever it was, the underground waters of Mandalore to cleanse himself and be reborn.
Yeah.
You've also got the side story as well with Bo-Katan and the rest of the Mandalorians, that you kind of got this the faction, if you like, that he was the covert that he was part of is a radical faction that believe that you can't take your helmet off, and then the rest of them are a bit more free and easy. Obviously, Boba's never been brought up with that
culture, yeah.
So it's very, very much. It will be interesting to see where it goes. Again, go off into the animation series. You've got Sabine and all the characters that came through there, and pretty much most of them were whipping the buckets off to whenever. So it will be interesting to see where they go with that. Does he set out to do that and then actually get convinced that maybe this is the way, isn't the way?
Yeah. We may start getting answers to some of these questions with Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. What a slick link that was. We got some more guest announcements this past week. Sam Witwer, Matt Lanter, Katie O'Brien will be making her Celebration debut as well. We know we're going to get a Favreau and Filoni panel. I think it was announced. Was it the Sunday? It was announced for.
Can't remember which day they've said, but yes.
Yeah, and so we will be getting some insight into the direction that the Mandalorian's going. Whether we get too much or whether we're going to get a little bit of insight into the making of season 2 more than perhaps a little look into the future. But we'll get some kind of news, which is always good. I think they actually did one of the better panels at the last celebration. Even if you exclude the trailer, the behind the scenes sort of footage, just in terms of sort of presenting of a panel and getting that excitement built up for a show, I thought they did a fantastic job. Chris Davies in the comments there making a comment that he'd like, I think you'll see Hera start to include the New Republic more and fold what could have been in the Rangers of the Republic show into the Mandalorian. It's a good shout as well, I think.
Yeah.
Top of the guest announcements for celebration, we also got the all-important health and safety in the new COVID world we live in. The rules have all changed from initially announced, so make sure you've been on the celebration website, read the safety notices, make sure you've got all your paperwork in order.
Yes.
I think important, and if you're on a flight, you're going to have to check with your airline what you need to do for that. We also got some new panels on the collecting track announced. People that are into the Kenner Star Wars Special Action Figure 3 packs. Got a panel just for you, and also a general one for people that are into collecting and want to build up their connections as well. The evolution of the Collectors Network. Mr. Newbuild there saying, bloody COVID, cough, cough. He is one of them, currently spreading it around. Beware. Star Wars original props and costumes, pretty amazing lineup of people there. Brandon Algener, Stephen Lane, Gus Lopez, Tom Spina, David Mandel. You'll be able to recognise some of those names from their work on various TV shows, movies, contributions to Star Wars publications, and just their contributions to Star Wars collecting fandom in general. And if you're into authenticating and grading Star Wars collectibles, you've got a panel just for you as well. I'm totally dead against grading. I hate grading. That's me and my comic collecting thing. It's become all about putting comics in bits of plastic and putting numbers on them. No, not for me. Is there something from Celebration you're looking forward to, Carol?
The props and costumes one sounds really interesting, and having been at Farthest From and met Gus a couple of times now, but at the event in December, he did a little bit of a talk on the I think it was on the Saturday evening, and sort of talked us through some of his collection and pieces that he got that are, sort of actual screen used stuff, including a massive Death Star model, and like how he came by to, how he acquired some of these things. That was really interesting, and it's not something I've ever really, followed or got into. But I mean, Gus is a great guy anyway, and really enthusiastic and really knowledgeable. So that panel, will be, Gus plus.
Yeah.
So that really does look.
Yeah, and I was lucky a few years back to get a chance to go around Tom Spina's sort of workshop as well, which was just a mind-blowing experience. And you can pick up some of his work from Regal Rebot. He's got a Star Wars license for a pretty amazing range of stuff. From the cheapest end of the collecting realm that I'm at, the magnets, to incredible pieces of custom furniture as well.
Yeah.
Again, looking at the future, head to July. Marvel Comics have got 7 new comics coming up in July. We can check out some of them just now. First up, Obi-Wan Kenobi, issue 3. It's going to be out. Someone actually posted on Facebook today, doesn't that clone trooper look remarkably like Boba Fett? I didn't know how to respond to that. But we'll have to let that one slip, I suppose. We've also got The Mandalorian issue 2. Star Wars 26 continues, so the big issue is going to be issue 25 coming up. There's a huge deal being made over that, so series is going to continue into 26. I did wonder whether 25 might be a reboot point, but it's not. And Vader's also hitting the 25 mark, continuing its story, looking at sort of the touching on Padme Amidala and her handmaidens. Ochi of Bastoon is in it, who is kind of a character I've kind of taken a liking to. One shining element that came out of the sequels, bringing him into the comics, and it's kind of worked. And they've also kind of done quite a pretty good job, Greg Pak has done, in terms of incorporating a lot of the prequel elements in from Naboo as well. And Han Solo and Chewbacca issue 5, the miniseries comes to a conclusion. Kind of love the graphics and the cover for that one.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
And Star Wars Bounty Hunters 25 hits a landmark as well. Still focused on Crimson Dawn, and I still don't know where they're really trying to get with the whole Crimson Dawn thing. Rather than just having a new group of villains, there doesn't seem to be a direction. It's very frustrating, I think, for readers. And last up on the comic front, Dr. Aphra continues, reaching issue 23. Sana Staros, the most weird angle where she was Han Solo's wife, and it went nowhere within an issue, and still teamed up with Dr. Aphra. So lots to look forward to. No clarity on the direction still. Please, Marvel, let's get some kind of direction. What we're heading for? What's the plan? And Mr. Newbold there, he was kind of agreeing on the cover. Can't beat a Phil Noto cover. Agree on that one. So that is the comics coming up in July. And last news item we're going to be covering today, Ahsoka. Lots of production updates on Ahsoka. A new director attached to the series, and Peter Ramsey. Are you particularly familiar with his work at all, Carl?
I was reading it, obviously, ahead of today. Obviously, he's co-director of Into the Spider-Verse, which I really enjoyed. But other than that, I'm not really that aware of his work. Although it says he worked on Men in Black and Fight Club as a storyboard artist, so you kind of go, well, he's had input on those. I think with all of these Disney Plus series, I think they're going the right way about it. I think one of the criticisms, if you like, of the sequel trilogy was you were employing directors who were also writing, the various films, and therefore you were getting that disjointed thing. So 8 resets 7 and 9 resets 7 and 8. So the way they're going with this, where obviously Favaloni are the creative writing, or at least pushing the direction of these shows, even if they're not actually writing the nitty gritty. But then they're handing the directing duties over to people who so far have really come up with the goods. You've got Bryce Dallas Howard, who I'm still campaigning that she gets a film. Deborah Chow, who obviously has gone on to get the directorial duties on the Obi-Wan series. I can't think of the other guy.
Rick, who did Book of Boba Fett. Someone in the chat, help us out. We're struggling here.
Robert Rodriguez,
Robert
obviously.
Rodriguez, that's the one. So these guys have all come in, done an episode, and then it's maybe led to more where they've kind of shown their work. There we go. He helped us out. And it's a good grounding. It gives them a chance to work with Lucasfilm within the Lucasfilm kind of structures.
Yeah.
Both parties get to feel each other out, see what it's like, and then it makes sense to use that as a platform to then push them on to another project, whether for Peter Ramsey it could be an animation project, I don't know. But certainly something interesting seeing his name attached.
Well, that's it. But as I say, so far, Dave and John have done us good. So, long may that continue.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if Peter Ramsey's episode of Ahsoka, or if it is one or maybe two, then maybe that does springboard him into other Star Wars projects.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of the way they've handled a lot of this. So and she is.
Yeah, you mentioned Bryce Dallas Howard, and so she talked about Ahsoka this week, but she also touched a little bit on what it was like for her growing up with Star Wars, which I thought was mind blowing a little bit when you read the quote. Obviously, her dad was friends with George Lucas, and she made the comment about George is always telling her he's got a picture of her in the bathtub, and which must have been great when you're at Bryce's age and you're on the set of The Mandalorian for George. So, there we go. But she used to get Star Wars figures every year for her Christmas. Didn't really know much about the characters, and it was part of her growing up and I guess learning. And she then went on talk about going to summer camp with Natalie Portman just as Natalie was getting the job in the prequels, and so then she got to go and visit the prequel set as well, which was pretty cool little story there, just to throw out there. But then obviously the important part, she went on to speak about Ahsoka, and she said herself, without giving anything away, you're going to love the Ahsoka show that's coming up. Cannot tell you anything, but what I can say is if you've been a fan of the Clone Wars, you will be greatly rewarded. So lots of hints that we're going to see a lot of characters, I think, from Clone Wars, Rebels, are going to feature in that show.
Yeah, that was a bit of an odd quote, really. It's like, if you're a fan of the Clone Wars, you're going to be greatly rewarded. It's like, well, yes, obviously Clone Wars, there's a lot of Ahsoka story arc in there, but from where she is age-wise in, the appearances she's made in Mando and Book of Boba Fett, that sort of post-Rebels, and she's clearly trying, from the episode of Mando, she's trying to track down Thrawn. So you kind of like, is it Clone Wars characters or is it Rebels characters? But as Mark said there, a lot of unresolved stuff from the Clone Wars, to do with walking away with the Jedi Order and everything. So it will be interesting to see, again, whether that's done in sort of flashbacky type sequences of her reminiscing about the way the Jedi Order went and things like that, or if that's the her motivation in certain circumstances and things like that, then it will be very interesting. So
lots to look forward to. We seem to be in this strange circling pattern just before celebration where they want to tell us things, but they're kind of holding back. So we never know what's going to happen in the world of Star Wars and what news is going to come out in a week ahead. But we will be back next Sunday evening to recap what has happened. Will we have some exciting news, or are we going to get more teasers along the way? I think one thing's for certain, we're going to get more updates on what's happening at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
And I think we should start getting a lot more of the big news start filtering through very shortly, I think.
Yeah, fingers crossed. A lot of people have said, the guest announcements so far have been kind of what you would have expected. Although, harking back to Celebration in London 2016, there was a Rogue One panel. Nowhere in any of the footage or any of the marketing for it did they say, oh, and the entire cast of Rogue One are going to be there. So, you could have Rosario Dawson rocks up on the Mando Plus panel, as does Pedro Pascal, just because they're not being announced as guests at the show. I think there's a distinction between people that are appearing in panels and signing guests. So, there's I don't think they're going to miss the opportunity to parade some of these people in front of the fans. And
we'll look forward to see what they've got in store from us. Carl, thanks for joining me this week. It's been great talking to you, going through all the Star Wars news. And I will meet you all back here, same time, next Sunday.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at FanthaTracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow FanthaTracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live